Welcome to Career Tools. This week, Stupid Email Mistakes, Chapter 1, Part 2. The questions this cast answers are: what mistakes am I making in my emails? Why are they mistakes? And what should I do instead of sending an email?
Folks, Mark again, talking about MT Disk. Only $30. One of the things I really like about MT Disk is that we made it smarter. I'll give you an example. I'm a high D, and I have a high S who's a colleague of mine. She tends to be warm and reserved and personal. I tend to be straightforward and direct and sometimes a little loud, maybe. Not rude, just loud. And I need something from her. She owed me something earlier today, and so I walk by her cubicle, or on Zoom call, I say, hi, Jackie, how are you? Where's my stuff? Actually, I probably wouldn't do that. I go, hey, Jackie, you owed me something 2 hours ago. Where is it? And by the way, we're colleagues, we're friends, and I'm not being rude. I'm just being direct. Well, Jackie doesn't like that. Jackie's taken aback. She's now uncomfortable because I haven't been personable. I haven't been friendly. I've been, frankly, in her mind, I've been rude. You say potato, I say potato. What I should have done with Jackie, which if you don't know DISC, you won't know to modify your behavior with different people, is go over there. And despite the fact that it's not my natural way, and my natural way makes sense to me, would be to sit down at her desk in the empty chair and say, and wait until she perhaps looks up and say, hi, Jackie, how are you? And she'd say, I'm fine, Mark, how are you? I said, I'm good. I said, I'm sorry to bother you, but perhaps we could talk about the report you owed me. I needed to put it together for the boss. And I understand we've all been busy, but can we reach an agreement about when I can get it? That's how to do it with a high S. Now let's flip that around. You're the high S. I'm your colleague. And you come over to my desk and you do what's natural to you. And you say, sit down and wait for me to pay attention to you. And I'm super busy and now probably a little annoyed. And you say to me, hi, Mark, how are you? And I'm kind of mentally rolling my eyes. Oh, geez, here we go again. We have to have 3 or 4 minutes of politeness before we get to the bottom line. And I say, I'm fine, Jackie. How are you? She says, I'm good, having a good day, blah, 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 blah. She says, I'm really sorry to bother you, but la, 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 la. Do you think maybe sometime soon I could get that report? I hate to be a trouble to you. I'm like, yeah, here it is. It's already done. I just forgot to email it to you. There, you got it. Oh, thanks so much. And we just took a minute to what could have taken 10 seconds. No, what Jackie should have done is come over to me. She didn't have to sit down. She'd say, hey, Mark, where's the report? And I'd say, oh, here it is. And we're done. And in the first instance of both of these examples I gave, both Jackie and I did what comes naturally to us, what's reasonable, what has made us effective. And it was ineffective because we didn't consider the natural tendencies of the person we were working with. And DISC will help you do that for only $30.
Andrew, we're now on mistake number 5. Hopefully everybody's fixed 1 to 4 that we talked about last week already.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll do mistake number 5, which is copying too few or too many people.
Yes. And I think this all started with the horror that comes from copying too many people on an email. I worked for an organization that had 80,000 people in it. And yeah, every once in a while, if you don't have someone who's really good at managing distribution lists, you could create a distribution list that now goes to everyone, and it's not good, right? Because then you get the reply alls, you get IT saying our email servers are just going nuts. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, the entirety of the British National Health Service went down because somebody accidentally copied 840,000 people rather than the 10 people they wanted to send the email to. And then everybody did reply all, and, it just got completely clogged and nobody could send emails, which is just a mess.
Yeah, it's bad. And so because of that, right, we see so many examples of, the wrong people being copied on emails, even potentially people being copied on emails they really probably shouldn't see.
I was working in an organization that recruited IT contractors. And at the time, there was a shortage, and we had some really specialized stuff that we had one company who had 4 contractors who we could hire. And that one company was the only set of 4 people where they had those skills and they knew it. They had this over a barrel and they were renewing their contract. And we didn't have the best relationship with them because they had us over a barrel and they used it until they accidentally sent an email and included us that said, we have them over the barrel. We're going to charge them 20% extra.
Oh,
something,
no.
We can milk them for all they're worth kind of thing.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, all of a sudden we didn't need them.
Yeah.
But I always remember getting that email and just being completely shocked at just what they said, but also that they'd managed to send it to us. So
Yeah, which is funny because ironically, most of the time when people are adding more people, right, in terms of copying more people in, it's usually a strategy of trying to like cover your backside, right? Cover your tail.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a strategy, right?
Yeah.
It
I told
doesn't
you,
always work.
It was in an email. I told you. No, that
right.
Telling you and it's in an email are not the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we've all seen examples of information being shared that should have not been shared, and people being on an email that shouldn't have been on an email. And because of that, now we've kind of overcorrected, and too few people are on emails. And that's because most of us are not in the situation where we have to worry about, potentially copying 840,000 people. And most of us probably aren't sending emails that say we have them over a barrel and
Exactly.
And those types of things. But throughout the regular course of just doing your normal email, sometimes we leave off people that would be helpful, or it would be helpful for them. And, it's well done by you in writing this cast. There's a good opportunity to maybe remind people here at this point that if you are doing email and you're worried about being on emails or copying people on emails, there's an important thing to also note here, which is the job market is pretty hot right now.
Yes.
And so if you're actively pursuing other opportunities or talking to recruiters or anything like that, you should be using your personal email account.
Yes.
Don't use your work
on your
email for that.
On your personal computer too.
Yes.
Not even your personal email on your work computer, because guess what? That's monitored, and it's the company's computer, not yours. And it's the company's email, not yours. And I wasn't going to put that in until last week when I saw someone do exactly that. Send information about a job search from a work email. And I was just like, oh, apparently we still have to say it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so often we hear the complaint, oh, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, or this person doesn't know what that person's doing, or that person told me something different this week, and it's all because there's a lack of internal communication. And you can help prevent that by being the person who communicates with everybody who needs it, and not just that really small subset of, the people you think need to know. That's why there is a to line and a copy line, because you can put as many people as you like on the copy line. It's for their information. Yeah.
And I know you make this point, but I chalk it up to, it's pretty easy to just delete an email.
Yeah.
Right? It's really hard to be aware of something that you're not included on.
Right. Read an email that you didn't get. Yes.
Right. So, yeah, just give them the courtesy of including them and let them decide, right? Yeah. Let them delete the email.
And as Mark says, about once a day, more communication is better.
Yeah,
it's not quite
absolutely.
that often, but it's pretty frequent, in part because I'm a horrible communicator. And I feel like I probably communicate 100 times more now than I did when I started, and it's still not enough. So
it's still not enough. Yeah. More is always better. But what clear guidance, right? I mean, you would never, I don't think ever in my time here at Manager Tools, I've ever been, scolded or anything for communicating more.
No.
Right? It's always when I miss something or don't share something.
Nobody ever says, stop sending me emails about that project.
Right.
Or they say stop sending me emails from HR about policies, or stop sending me newsletters, but they rarely say stop sending me emails about my project.
Yeah. That project that I am a stakeholder in, or that I have a genuine concern about what happens with it. Yeah, stop sending me updates. No one says that.
And employee surveys never say I get too much information.
Yes.
Employee surveys always say, I need to know more.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. So it's easy when your team is working on a project, right? Send everyone the updates on the things that you're doing. That's not too much, right? Some people think maybe that's too granular. If I, check a box or I update a task, I don't need to let everyone know that, right? Because it's on a spreadsheet or it's on a tracking thing. No, just send that to them, right? They want to know.
The daily stand-up that came as part of the whole Scrum Agile thing, that they stand around in the morning and then they answer 3 questions, which is, what did you do yesterday? What will you do today? And what are the impediments in what you want to do today? Mm-hmm. That's exactly what we're talking about doing, sending updates. And nobody complains that daily stand-up is too much or they don't want to do them.
In fact, it's the opposite.
Yeah,
everyone raves.
Desperate to do them. And the moment they leave and go to a team where it's not done, they want to reinstate it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They say clearly what's missing here is communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the communication improves the collaboration, the ownership. It improves the visibility into the process. It means that people aren't working at cross purposes. There's all these really good reasons for that increased communication. So more communication is better.
Absolutely. When you email a customer, include anyone else who may be in contact with that customer on your email, right? You can use blind carbon copy, BCC, or you can forward the email afterwards if you don't want the customer to see who's being copied. But yeah, if there's a chance that someone might need to know that or could, need to know that, yeah, let them know. If you're taking action on an issue, let everyone who is involved or part of that, let them know the action that you're taking and what it is. Every time you write an email, you should ask yourself, is there anyone else who should know this?
Hey folks, just a little tease here. We've signed an agreement that I'm going to be rewriting the Effective Manager book. It'll be the Effective Manager second edition. We just discovered, by the way, that the book has sold over $500,000 worth of books, which is pretty good. We did not get all of that, by the way. We only get royalties, a small part of that. And they've asked me to include a whole bunch of stuff about remote stuff. Now, we do still have some of the original copies of the Effective Manager, and I'll sign them if you come to the website. And Amazon still has the regular ones, so feel free to reach out to us if you want a signed copy before they go away permanently once the second edition comes out.
Okay, mistake number 6, drawing the wrong conclusions from the written word. So tell us about the email part. This is my favorite part of my favorite conference. The email part of the Effective Communicator Conference.
It's my favorite part too, because, and this may go over some people's heads who haven't been to the conference. If you haven't, come, it'll be fun. But the first email that we review is a high C email. And usually I'll get a few folks, we get people all the time who say, oh, this could be a high D email. Like this is, and I say, just wait till we get to the high D email and then you'll see maybe the contrast will help. But inevitably we get to that high D email and there's always a little bit of a chuckle in the room because it is very short. It's 2 sentences. And the email says, we missed the deadline on the revenue project review. I need a plan for how you're going to fix it. And then signed J, right? This is from Don, and his first initial of his last name is J, so he signs it with J, which is kind of a high D thing we see a lot. And as we read that email, which doesn't take very long because it was 2 sentences, everyone understands that that's a high D email. And 1/4 of the room are high Ds say, yeah, I get and send emails like that all the time. And 3/4 of the room is always a little, they're like, yeah, maybe I've seen some of those emails, maybe I've gotten some of those emails, but I always ask, and we always ask, okay, is Don mad in this situation? And inevitably we get, the high Ds are like, no, not at all. This is just Don trying to share some information quickly. We get, high S's who say, I would probably start crying if I saw this email. Right? We get people who say, if I got this email, yeah, he's mad. I'd probably start packing my office. I'd just start packing up my desk. I would think this is the last email that I'm going to get from my boss. And the answer is no, he's not. He's just trying to get you information quickly, right? And so email is often very, very misunderstood in terms of forms of communication. And that's because we think everyone thinks or writes or communicates like we do. A high C who sends a follow-up email to, quote, confirm our conversation is usually just trying to get clarity and provide clarity and say, this is what we talked about, right? But sometimes if that's not how you communicate, you go, this person's just trying to cover themselves, right? They're just trying to cover their backside. And that's not what they're doing.
No. Why don't they trust me?
Or why don't they trust me?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
The answer is they do. they just
do.
like it to be clear.
Yeah. And the reason they trust you is because they send emails that are follow-up emails and you both stick to your sides of the conversation. A high I's who send, an email that has a joke in it. High C's and high D's are probably like, oh my gosh, if I get one more joke email from this person.
Why are they wasting so much time?
Yeah, wasting company resources on jokes, but they're trying to connect, right? They're just trying to form a little bit of a deeper bond in order to build trust. It's not because they're not focused on work or they don't, have their eye on the ball. It's just they're trying to, build those connections. When a high S sends an email that has a very formal greeting, it's not them trying to keep you at arm's length or whatever. They're just trying to show you respect, right? They're just trying to demonstrate that respect.
Yes. And they send you, dear Wendy. And I'm like, that's 6 characters too many.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So what to do instead? When you read an email, read the words. Then add back all the information that you would normally get from talking to people. When we talk to people in person, we hear the sound of their voice. We hear the speed at which they're speaking. We see their facial expressions, their body language, gestures, and so on. And all that enhances or mitigates the words that they're using. So when you read an email and, it just something doesn't feel right about it, it feels off to you. Imagine the person speaking those words, right? Hear them saying those words. Or pick up the phone. Go to their cube. Ask them what they meant. 99% of the time, it's entirely innocent. This is the embodiment, this is the action of assuming positive intent, which is an all-time favorite, Hall of Fame cast. Assume positive intent. Assume if you read the words and you feel slighted, that's probably not what they meant.
Probably wasn't intended. No,
yeah.
Because, 99% of what happens at work is good.
Exactly.
Not everybody knows that. That's something we say.
Yeah.
Everybody around here knows it because we say it. But 99% of what's happening at work is good. And 99% of the work you're doing is good. And so if you think that the message that you just got is snarky or, the person was mad, it probably isn't. Even if it is, it's probably nothing to do with you. It's probably other circumstances, which leaves, 3% of the time when it actually is about you.
Yeah.
And about that email.
Is there a chance that someone made a really, really poor attempt at some sarcasm through email?
Happens to me all the time.
Yeah. I mean, email's not a very good place for sarcasm. No. And not everyone listens to Career Tools. And so you will have people who do things that don't make any sense. Yes. That happens.
I sent an email recently and I saw Mike on a video call like a day later. And he went, "Did you really mean to say?" And I went, "Oh my gosh, no.
Yeah.
No." And he said, "Yeah, I didn't think so." Yeah. No, I did not say what you thought I said to the entire company, let alone my two bosses. No.
Right.
And it was in, how often do you use a word or you use a phrase entirely innocently and it's interpreted differently by somebody else. And
absolutely.
And, give everybody some grace, especially if you get an email from me, clearly. And if you're writing the emails, take the recipient's DISC profile into account. And we just started this. We started talking about high Ds and stuff without explaining what DISC is. So if you haven't heard us talk about DISC before, it's a way of characterizing people's behavior and predicting what they will do and how they think, or the ways in which they think and behave because using that behavior. And there's probably 100 podcasts about DISC on the website. So start with one of the easy ones. There are 4 types, D, I, S, and C. And each one communicates differently. And they all, because we all do, communicate the way that makes sense to them. And if you're not that style, it won't make sense to you. And so you have to think about, if you're sending an email to a single person, how does that person communicate with you? Gives you a really good clue about how you should communicate with them. So when we were talking about the high D who sends very short emails, send your emails back. That person is okay with you sending an email that just has the letter K in it. You don't have to put their name. You don't have to put your name. You don't have to put anything else. You could just write K, and that's enough. They're entirely okay with that. So you can use their communication to decide how to communicate back. And for some, the I's and the S's are people-focused, and they would prefer a phone call or a face-to-face rather than email. And, you can't get away from email. You can't have everything be a meeting or everything be a phone call. But sometimes an extra phone call with an IRNS helps that relationship. If you just, if it could go one way or the other, then occasionally go with a phone call and just do it for the relationship, not because it's the most efficient thing to do.
Yeah. And if you're worried about getting on the phone with a high I and being caught on the phone for the next 50 minutes, just say, hey, I've only got 10 minutes and I wanted to make a quick call before I send this email. And then, yeah.
Okay, so the last part of this class is the stupid email checklist. So we're going to go over all of the mistakes. If you are a licensee, you can print this off and keep it near your desk, keep it near your keyboard before you send an email.
It's gold. It is worth the price of admission. It's like a flowchart.
It is. That's what I was thinking.
Not sending stupid emails. Yeah. It's so good.
Okay, so first question, is this email urgent? If yes, go and find the person or call them. Don't send an email.
Number 2, is email the right medium for this message, right? So some subparts here. Is this complicated or complex or difficult, like we talked about? Here's a good one. Have I already sent an email? We have a podcast, No Second Emails. Is it feedback? Would be another one. Do I have that pit in my stomach? And if yes to any of those, choose face-to-face or video or a phone call, but not an email.
Yeah. Number 3, are the people who've been assigned tasks addressed in the to line? If not, then move their names to the to line.
Yeah.
That's a nice, easy one.
Nice and easy. And the next one's pretty easy too. Have all of the tasks got assignees and deadlines? If not, add them, right?
And don't forget, who does what by when?
Yeah, exactly. Use your bold text, your italics, whatever you want to do to denote that this is a task and who's doing it and by when.
Does anyone else need to know about this? If yes, then add them.
Yeah. And then would it be helpful for anyone else to know about this? If yes, add them.
It's so easy.
So easy.
Yeah. And then the last question, have I taken their DISC profile into account? And if not, then rewrite your email. But if you've written it in the way that makes sense to you but won't make sense to them, rewrite it, because if sending it is just a waste of time. And if you don't know how to rewrite the email, go to the Effective Communicator Conference and Andrew will teach you.
Yeah.
And you'll have fun, because that's my fun.
Yeah, it's a fun day. Yeah, for sure.
So there is no class on email, as far as I know. Maybe people will send us, their university course on how to send email. But that doesn't mean that there's a reason for you to make stupid mistakes. And email is something we do a lot. And so the return on investment of doing email well is really big. Effective emailing has a huge influence on your overall results, just because it's such a big part of what you do. And getting it right is as easy as following the flowchart.
Absolutely.
That's all for this week. We'll be back next week with a new topic.
Thanks, Wendy. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Andrew. Bye, everyone.